Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. نويت التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. قال تعالى في محكم تنزيله: ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين. وقال صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم: من يرد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. وقال أيضا: طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. أما بعد، الحمد لله, we've reached this series of classes katika kuzungumzia ibadat au fiqhi ya ibadat. We've reached the topic ama the section of ghusl, namna ya kuoga. Previously we talked about the things that are the reasons for making the ghusl compulsory, vitu ambavyo vyafanya iwe ni lazima kwa Muislamu aende aoge. We mentioned maut. The first thing we mentioned is death, then khurujul mani, removal of sperms. Then we mentioned sexual intercourse. Then we mentioned hayd, nifas. Then the last thing we mentioned al-wilada, giving birth. These are things that make the ghusl compulsory. Then after that, after we've known that now the ghusl is compulsory, how do we take the bath? Vipi tunaoga? Vipi tunaoga? Okay, there's the compulsory part, and we are going to talk in this series. We are going to talk about the compulsory part only. Tutaashiria the sunnah, the recommended, but we are focusing more on the basics. We are focusing more on the basics. As you've noticed, since the start of these classes, we are trying our best to focus on the basics. Okay, so Arkanul Ghusl, the things that, or the pillars of ghusl, or furudul ghusl, the things that are a must when taking the ghusl. Vitu vya lazima. Faslun fi arkanil ghusli. Al-awwalu an-niyya. The first compulsory act of ghusl is the intention. As we said when talking about the wudu, qala sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam, innamal a'malu binniyat. Hakika si lingine isipokuwa amali ni kwa zile nia. Zinaswihi kulingana na nini? Nia. Any action is rewarded or becomes valid according to the intention. So one has to be very careful. One has to intend. If one doesn't intend, there is no ghusl. He hasn't really taken a bath. For example, it might happen one maybe has sexual intercourse with his wife, tamam, or removes sperms, then goes to take a bath. If he takes a bath, maybe ni kawaida, it's the morning, he has to go to go to work, he has to go to school, he has to go to work. He wants to go to work, he takes a bath with the normal intention. The normal intention daily, he takes a bath because he wants to clean himself so that he can go to work. This is not enough. If he does not intend to take a bath because of the janaba, a compulsory bath, this bath is not valid. Yani tutasema bado janaba lake liko. He still has the obligation. Lazima aende akaoge tena. So tuwe na tutanabahi. For example, one lives in a very hot city. Aende aoge. Why? Because it's very hot. Lakini alikuwa na janaba. Maybe he had removed sperms. So anataka kwenda, la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, anataka kwenda kuoga, lakini amesahau kama labda alitoa sperms, ama akaenda kuoga, anaoga kwa sababu nyingine. Hajaoga kwa ajili ya nini? Kwa ajili ya kutokwa na manii. Hajaoga kwa sababu ya janaba. The ghusl is not valid. Tutasema bado hajaoga la janaba, bali lile josho ni josho la kawaida tu. So he has to go and take a bath upya. he has to go and take a bath with the intention of janaba, yani kuoga josho la janaba. He can intend nawaitu fardha al-ghusli, nawaitu rafa al-janaba and all that. But if he intends the two things, yani anaoga kuoga josho la janaba and at the same time anaoga kwa ajili ya joto, anataka ama kujisafisha or something like that, this is okay, no problem, this is okay, tamam. Sometimes one may have a scenario that he has two reasons for taking a bath or more. Two reasons. How comes? For example, he's removed some sperms and also maybe amemwingilia mke wake. He had sex maybe with his wife or something. So now kuna sababu mbili zinazomlazimisha aoge. Kuwa ametokwa na manii and at the same time amemwingilia mkewe. Or maybe for a lady, maybe ameingiliwa na mumewe but before aoge akapata hedhi, akapata damu ya siku zake. So in such a scenario, is it enough if she intends one thing, if she intends one intention? For example, yeye alikuwa ni kama venye mfano tuliotoa for the lady, the example that we've used for the lady. Maybe the lady has her menstrual periods and before that she had intercourse with the husband. After that, after the periods, she has to take a bath. Is it a must for her to take two baths? No, it's not a must for her to take two baths. It's enough if she takes just one bath. Is it a must for her to intend the two intentions, yani ya haidh na ya janaba? No, it is okay if she intends one of the two intentions and it is okay, na itakuwa imetosha, tamam. Lakini if she has kuoga ama josho la wajibu, a compulsory bath and a sunnah bath, what do we mean, or what is the example? For example, it is on Friday, it is Jum'ah, the man wants to go to pray Jum'ah. It is sunnah to take a bath. Or on the day of Eid, it is sunnah to take a bath. Lakin at the same time, this person had a copulation or intercourse with their spouses. This man had intercourse with his wife. So he has a sunnah ghusl and a compulsory ghusl. Ni sunnah aoge and at the same time ni compulsory aoge. Ni sunnah because of Jum'ah or something that is like Eid or something. Na pia ni lazima aoge because of the intercourse that he's had with his wife. So in this scenario, is it enough akinuia, akiweka intention moja? No. Akiweka intention moja for the compulsory ghusl, we say sahi si compulsory tena aoge. Si compulsory aoge. Yani amekuwa msafi. Amekuwa msafi. Lakini akiweka intention ya kuoga, for example because of Jum'ah, sunnah ghusl, maybe amesahau kama alikuwa na janaba, akaoga kuoga because of Jum'ah, tunamwambia anapata thawabu ya Jum'ah peke yake, but the obligation of taking a bath because of janaba bado iko. So ni lazima aende akaoge upya, ni lazima akaoge janaba kwa nia ya janaba. Lakini he has the option also, he has the option of combining the intentions. Anaweza kuintend kuwa yuaoga janaba and at the same time yuaoga nini sunnah ya Ijumaa and all that. It is very okay because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa sallam said, as in the hadith, innamal a'malu bin niyyat wa innama likulli imri'in ma nawa. Yani the person is rewarded according to his intentions. If he intends one thing, anapata reward ya one thing. Aki intend two things, three things, so you can combine these intentions. It is okay, na kuoga itakuwa ni sahihi. Kuoga kutakuwa kume sahihi. Now, the second thing that is a must amongst the pillars of ghusl, the ulama say, athani, the second pillar amongst the pillars of ghusl is ta'mimul badani bil ma'i basharan wa sha'ran. Ta'mimul badani bil ma'i basharan wa sha'ran. It is covering the whole body with water. Covering the whole body with water. And this is very important. We have to be very careful. The importance, or what we mean, is that lazima mtu aoshe mwili mzima. The skin and also the hairs. You remember in wudu, when we were talking about the wudu, we said si lazima mtu aoshe the beard ikiwa beard ni nyingi. Ikiwa beard ni kubwa, si lazima aoshe zote, bali atapangusa tu kwa juu, ataosha tu kwa juu, afwan. Lakini kwa upande wa ghusl lazima tuoshe each and every body part. Nyele, all external taban, of course, lazima aoshe nyele zote. Lazima aoshe nyele zote. So the people who have wameunganisha nyele or something like that, ama wameunganisha ni kamba or something like that, wanafaa wawe very careful. Lazima mtu aoshe nyele zote. Ndevu zikiwa nyingi au zikiwa kidogo, lazima. Tamam? Na mtu yoyote ambaye ana unene wa aina yoyote, any plump person or fat person has to be very careful. Zile sehemu ambazo yani kuna layers, wanasema, wanaziita wenyewe amakinal in'itaf au al-ma'atif. Hizi ni sehemu we have to make sure that water reaches such areas. There are some places maji kidogo ni ngumu kufika. Lazima mtu aoshe masikio vizuri. Na njia ya kuosha masikio kwa urahisi ni mwalimu watuambia aeke maji kwa mkono, then aweke sikio lake juu ya ule mkono. Utaona maji yataingia, na hayatoingia mpaka ndani. So that is okay. Tamam? We have to be careful and take care of these important details. Lazima tuoshe vizuri uso, kila sehemu, mikono, tumbo, especially kwenye vitovu, chini ya mikono, hizi sehemu zote, baina ya vidole vya miguu, all these places we have to make sure that maji yamefika. Tamam? After the intention. Mtu ile anataka kujimwagia maji mwanzo ndo anaweka intention. Lakini alhamdulillah zama zetu kidogo tumerahisishiwa, kuna mashawa, most people wanatumia shower, so it's a bit simpler. And the same thing, mtu kama huyu akiingia kwenye swimming pool, ama akiingia kwa mfano kwenye bahari na akaweka intention, it is okay. Akijiingiza mpaka ndani, immediately akijiingiza na akiweka intention, imetosha inshallah. Muhimu zaidi ni maji yafike sehemu zote. So this is what is a must. We realize that this is the only thing that's a must, or these two are the only things that's a must. We know that this is a recommended way of taking a bath. Kwanza mtu atawadhe, kisha akioga aanze na upande wa kulia. Kwanza aanze na kichwa, afu kisha aoshe upande wa kulia, kisha wa kushoto, kisha nyuma upande wa kulia, kisha aanze mbele upande wa kulia, kisha nyuma upande wa kulia, kisha mbele upande wa kushoto, kisha nyuma upande wa kushoto. All these are recommended acts. Mara tatu. All these are recommended acts. Kitu cha lazima peke yake ni kutia nia, na lazima aoshe kila sehemu. Lazima maji yafike kila sehemu. Kwa hiyo tuwe very very careful. Manake some people, as we said, many people are ignorant of their religion. Many people wamekuwa na janaba na labda hawajawahi kuoga. Tujue hii dini tutaenda kuulizwa on the day of judgment. We will be asked, you are a Muslim, you had a chance to study, why didn't you? Or why didn't we? So we be very careful, inshallah. Naam. So this is very simple about the ghusl. One who wants to know more about the ghusl, inshallah, he can try and read in some books. You can find Bidayatul Hidayah. There's a book, very famous book of Al-Imam Al-Ghazali. It's called Bidayatul Hidayah. I think there are translated versions of it, or one can try and study more if he wants. He will know the sunnah way, njia ambayo ni bora zaidi, yani sunnah ya kuoga na namna ya kuoga, inshallah. Naam. With this we'll have finished about how to take a ghusl. So there are things, we're going to enter a different section, a new section, about the things that are haram for a person mwenye janaba. Mtu ambaye ana janaba, kuna mambo ambayo ni haramu. Mtu ambaye ana janaba, someone who has had sexual intercourse with his wife, or has had removal of sperms, ametoa sperms, there are things that are haram for him to do. Tunakumbuka tulizungumzia udhu, tukazungumzia some things that are haram for the person that has no udhu. So now we go a step higher. The things that are haram for a person that has janaba. And we said janaba comes from two reasons, or from two things. Either removal of sperms, the second thing, copulation or intercourse with one's spouse. So if one has janaba, there are things that are haram. Generally, there are about 6 things. We can count 6, some will say 7. Al-Muhim, we are going to mention all of them inshallah. The first 4 things are the same 4 things that are haram in wudu. And the details are exactly the same details. The 4 things that are haram that we mentioned, mtu ambaye hana udhu, hayo mambo ni haramu. We mentioned as-salah, then we mentioned at-tawaf, then we mentioned carrying the mushaf, then we mentioned touching the mushaf. These 4 things are haram there, they are also haram here. Tamam? La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It is not allowed to do these 4 things and 4 more things. The 4th or the 5th thing is staying in the mosque. It is not allowed for a person who has janaba to stay in the mosque. It is not allowed for a person, mtu ambaye yu ana janaba, hafai kuketi msikitini. It is haram for him to stay in the mosque. Anafa, immediately he has janaba, he has to leave the masjid. Tamam. Qala ta'ala wala junuban illa abiri sabil. And we should not, the person who has janaba should not stay in the mosque except if he is passing through. Except if he is passing through. It is okay to pass through. But staying in the mosque, kuingia, kuketi, and this person has janaba, it is haram. It is haram. Except if one has an excuse. If one has an excuse. Labda, anaogopa akitoka nje, labda nje kuna vita, atapigwa vita. Or maybe, milango imefungwa, amejipata msikitini, ayam Ramadhan, maybe i'tikaf, mtu amelala usiku, miskiti, akiamka labda saa 4 mchana, msikiti umefungwa, na yeye ana janaba, hawezi kutoka. This person anasamehewa. This person anakuwa katika waliosamehewa. And he is not a sinner, hapati dhambi. Tamam. Lakini mtu ameingia, labda akachukuliwa usingizi, kisha akapata janaba na yuko msikitini, lazima atoke immediately. Except kama tulivyosema, mtu akiwa amekuwa excused. Na huu ni mfano, au hii ni mifano ambayo tumetaja ya people ambao wako excused. Naam. Katika mambo ambayo ni haramu, amongst the things that are haram, the 6th thing, we've mentioned 4 that are also haram for the person who has no wudu. Then we've added 1 more specific for the person with janaba, that is sitting or staying in the masjid. The 6th thing that is haram is reading the Quran. Reading the Quran. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa sallam says, لا يقرأ الجنب ولا الحائض شيئا من القرآن. That the person who has janaba or the woman who is during her, is experiencing her menstrual periods, she should not, or they should not read the Quran. They should not read the Quran. It is haram for them to read the Quran. So when we are talking about the wudu, we said that he should not carry the mushaf. He should not carry the mushaf or even touch the mushaf. But as for the junub, even more than touching the mushaf, it is haram kusoma hata kwa moyo. Ni haramu kusoma hata kwa moyo, kutamka. What is haram ni kutamka. Tamam, we have to know, the person who has no wudu, anaweza kusoma Qur'ani kwa hifdhi. Anaweza kusoma Bismillahirrahmanirrahim bila kuangalia. Si eti bila kuangalia, hata anaweza kusoma kwa kuangalia. Lakini he should not, it's not allowed to touch the mushaf. This is for the person that has no wudu. As for the person ambaye ana janaba, yani ni lazima aoge, ni mtu ambaye amemwingilia mkewe, au la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, ima amemwingilia mkewe au ametokwa na mani, this person cannot even read the Quran. He cannot pronounce, hafai kupronounce, hafai kusema Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. La. Lakini akiangalia tu, kwa mfano mtu amemwekea mswahafu pale na yeye anaangalia tu hivi kwa kufuata kwa macho, this is not haram. This is not prohibited. He can do that, no problem. So some people usually ask, lakini bwana labda anataka kujikumbusha hifdhi or something like that, as kama itakavyokuja when we talk about the things that are haram for a woman during her periods. Haina neno mwanamke au mtu ambaye ana janaba, haina neno asome kwa macho. Yani we call it reading, lakini Waarabu wanasema this is not reading, or to be specific, it is not considered recitation. Recitation is pronunciation of the letters. So if a person would read without pronouncing, if a person will read without pronouncing, yani amefunga tu mdomo na anaangalia mswahafu hivi akipitisha, this is not considered recitation. This is not haram. This is not haram. Naam. This is about the Quran only. Lakini adhkar za kawaida, mtu kusoma adhkar, ataleta adhkar sabah, wirdul latif, wird sakran, and all these awrada, it is okay. It is not haram. One who recites these adhkars for the purpose of protecting himself, hata kama atasoma aya za Qur'ani, for example, atasoma muawidhatain, atasoma qul a'udhu birabbin nas na qul a'udhu birabbil falaq, with the intention kuwa anataka kujiprotect, si kwa intention ya kuwa hii ni Qur'ani, haina neno, inafaa. Yajuzu qira'atul Qur'ani au tajuzu qira'atul Qur'ani biqasdi tahassun, haina neno kusoma, it is allowed to recite the Quran but with the intention of protection, if one is seeking protection, not with the intention of the Quran. Naam. So as we said, mwenye anasoma kwa macho, most people wanasoma kwa macho. Ukisoma kwa macho hii si haramu, lakini you have to know generally even when one is in normal circumstances, mtu si katika, yani mtu sahi, for example sisi hapa maybe tunaudhu, tunataka kusoma Qur'ani, the one who reads with his eyes hapati thawabu za kusoma. So mtu akitaka thawabu lazima atamke, lazima ajisikie au aweze kujisikia. That is when it's called recitation. Now, and with that we'll have finished La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We'll have finished about the ghusl, and inshallah in the next class we're going to talk about the things that are prohibited for a woman during menstruation. A woman during menstruation, there are many things that are prohibited. There are more things than the person who is in janaba. There are things that are prohibited. Inshallah, we're going to talk about it in the next class. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad, an-Nabi al-Ummi, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahu a'la wa a'lam.